on Tara Group performance. We're planning to have these calls quarterly, so that we can I can give you a bit of an update on how the group is performing, and a view as to how, what we're seeing and what we think for the rest of the year. So in that context, I'm happy to say that we are just in the final process of signing last year's numbers. So those should be filed at Companies House very soon. And I'm pleased to say they're going to show a very strong result for 2021. So in terms of some high-level numbers, we'll be showing a turnover figure for the group of 193 million. Against last year, the previous year of 147 million. So that's a very strong year-on-year increase. I mean, we did expect that to happen coming out the back of the pandemic, and all the businesses performed strongly last year. Our profit after tax will be over 10 million for last year. And that's compared with 3.6 million in the prior year. And in terms of the balance sheet, we have a very strong cash position at the end of 2021 to support us into this year's trading. I think if I was to speak for Paul, he would probably say he'd prefer we had a little less cash and a little bit more land to build on. Yeah, I've just got a thumbs up. So I think that would be fair to say. But clearly a very positive set of results to file. And as I say, I expect that to happen in the next few days. So what are we seeing at the moment? Well, from a big picture economic perspective, clearly a lot of uncertainty about how things are going to move forward from the current situation. Clearly we have seen in the last few weeks a slowing down of the economy and more concerns around inflation and the impact of the cost of living on all of our financial position. From specifically a construction perspective, we've seen a lot of challenges around planning and being able to bring our building projects into a build position. And we've also seen a lot of challenges around the price of land and the availability of land to feed our forward pipeline. There's a lot of money from different types of businesses in the economy looking for land to purchase. So that might be a registered provider or somebody providing private rented accommodation, as well as us trying to provide houses for the open market. On the other side, in terms of input costs, we've seen significant inflation in materials. Earlier in the year, we saw some material availability challenges, but I think it's fair to say we are now able to source materials in most cases, but the price of those materials continues to rise. It seems sometimes on an almost weekly basis. So from a margin perspective, that's quite challenging for us. But on the sales side, I'm sure Carol Ann would support the view that house prices are still strong, perhaps not increasing as fast as they were earlier in the year. I think in the last month we've started to see maybe the first signs of stabilisation, but we're still looking at a very positive scenario in terms of reservations and completions on the house building side. So how does that translate into financial performance? Well, for Chasetown, our sales are running a lot higher than budget. We've seen a lot of contract wins in the current year. Overall, over 60 million of new contract value. gone into the pipeline in Chasetown, and a lot of pressure from our house building clients to move as quickly as we're able to in terms of doing the groundworks and the infrastructure works to support the large sites that they're bringing to market. So we're seeing that universally across the client base, whether it's Millers, Bloors, they're all driving those volumes. But Chasetown particularly is being impacted by the material price rises that I referenced, and the year-on-year movement in prices that we've seen is currently over 20%. We are still seeing price rises on the horizon, for the future period. So in Cameron, as things stand at the moment, we are finding that the sales process is a bit slower than perhaps we saw last year. So sales are completing, but it's taking a bit longer to do that. And at the half year, we hadn't quite got to budget volume, but we're working to bring that back online and move towards target. But the margin has been higher than we budgeted, and that's a reflection of the prices that we were able to buy land that's feeding the current sales pipeline, and the good control we have over the activities on site. In Keon, we're seeing sales and profit on budget at the moment. They have won some significant new business, which we're in the process of putting to contract at the moment. And the activity in Keon is going to increase with two big care block projects coming on into the pipeline in the second half of the year. They won't deliver sales this year, but clearly we're investing in the team to be able to grow into next year. So overall, at the moment, I would say that as a group, we expect the year-end performance to be between budget and target overall. But I would just go back to my remarks about the bigger picture and the uncertainty that I think we would all see in the economy and going into the back half of the year. So I think that was all that I was going to cover for the time being. I'm happy to take any questions that anybody has got, and I appreciate that, I've probably gone through that quite quickly. But as I say, if anyone's got any questions, happy to answer them.
Leslie, you mentioned Keon were largely on budget. Chasetown largely on budget as well, or I may have missed it.
Yes, that's right. We're expecting Chasetown to, at the moment, the forward forecasts are suggesting that we'll be between budget and target for Chasetown.
Thanks.
So I think it's clearly been a very positive start to the year. The first half, we've seen some good progress in all the businesses, but there are challenges which people who are in those businesses are having to work with and address on a daily basis. So anything that anybody would like to ask, I'm really, I'm happy to take questions after the call if you'd prefer to do that. And if there are other things that you would find it helpful for me to update on, I'm happy to do that. As I say, I will put another call in after we've completed the Q3 numbers, and obviously we'll have a much better idea of where we think we're going to land for the full year at that point.
Leslie, you talked earlier about the beginning of changes in the house building market in terms of prices not pushing forward as they have been over the last couple of years. And we're certainly seeing that. and seeing other house builders now over the last 4 to 6 weeks coming forward with all their incentives again, the way they used to when the market wasn't as buoyant as we've experienced in the last 2 years. So we're seeing discounts and deals being offered again, which is a real indicator that they're not selling at the rate that they have been selling at. And we're beginning to see prices change a little bit through channels like Rightmove. How is Chasetown seeing their market in terms of their clients and pricing and forward book in terms of demand and value?
Yeah, the demand is very, very strong. There seems to be a big push to progress works ahead of the regulation change in the middle of next year. So at the moment, as things stand, and we have had a board meeting this week, we are not seeing any slowdown. I think clearly each site has a different sort of specific microclimate in terms of how many plots the house builders want to move forward with. But contracts are still being awarded, at high values. And at the moment, in the main, we have managed to pass the cost increases on into the marketplace. But I think that's a reflection of how much work is coming to market. And the fact that for the size of sites that Chasetown typically would work on, there isn't a huge pool of contractors in the market to whom those tenders could be offered.
Okay, thank you.
It could change tomorrow, Caroline, would be my only caveat, obviously, as you would see from the sales side, it does feel that we're in a period of quite rapid change in terms of sentiment and the economic situation in the market.
Yeah.
Any questions from anybody else? No? Well, thanks very much for joining the call. Chloe or Joe, probably Chloe, will make the call available for anybody who wasn't able to join. And as I say, really happy to answer any other questions that if people want to email me or Teams message me, happy to speak directly if there's anything else to add. But thank you very much for joining today, and I hope you enjoy the lovely weather for the weekend.